Hello there, it's me again. As you can see, not looking as smart and sparkly as I did last time. So this one's a little different from the stuff I normally do. I've just come back from a screening from one of my favourite films of the 80s, which I'm not going to mention just yet because I'm just going to explain how this happened. There's a Facebook group called Liverpool Classic Films, so if any of you are local, go find their page. I'm not going to put a link to it, but they may see a picture of what it looks like on the screen somewhere right now. And what they do is they use a thing called R Screen, which is like a crowd-funded cinema screening. So what you will basically do is you try to arrange a film screening. I think R Screen themselves go, these are the films we have available, put one on. And what you do is you do them through the theatre. You set up a set amount of seats tickets you need to sell, and if they sell that amount, then the screening goes ahead. So the film I saw tonight, now I am going to discuss some stuff about the movie, so I made this especially, so here we go. So there we go. So obviously some spoilers. I mean, it is over a 30-year movie, but if you haven't seen it, you haven't seen it, which so. The film we're discussing this evening is John Carpenter's The Thing, which, as you can tell, I quite like. So why are we discussing this film, John? You're looking at me going. So basically, tonight we saw it. I saw it for the first time ever on a large cinema screen in a group of people, which I obviously just originally thought were all John Carpenter fans going to experience the film on cinema. We'll get to that a bit later. So, I'm taking your first question is, what the hell is The Thing if you haven't seen it? It's a John Carpenter film from 1982, I believe. I was 11. Which, if you don't know anything about John Carpenter, he was a very low-budget director for his first couple of films, and this was his first major studio production, so this was the first time he had full creative control, he had a lot of money, and the studio were expecting it to be an absolutely huge hit. Now, the apocryphal story about this is it was released in the cinemas the same time as E.T. Now, this has been widely argued over the years about whether that did affect it or not, because to be brutally frank, it was eviscerated by the critics at the time. They just tore it apart. I mean, if you ever want to go on Google and have a look at some of them, they were fairly horrific. So, long story short, it wasn't very well watched at the time. It didn't make its money back, and effectively, John Carpenter has said the aftermath of that was his career kind of went like that. Because if you look at John Carpenter's films, there's lots of, as we'll say, peaks and troughs, as we'll say. But because he thought that was his best work up until that point, and he was just devastated that it failed. Weirdly enough, though, this is also around the time of VHS or video cassettes to those older people, and weirdly enough, that's where I first was introduced to it. Strangely enough, my family had a very lax concept of video certificates, so if I like the look of a film, I was allowed to watch it, and I was an 11-year-old and I saw this movie, and it definitely had an effect on me, because after that I seeked out everything John Carpenter. I had seen a John Carpenter film before this, which is Assault on Precinct 13, but I hadn't connected the two together till I rewatched it later on down the line. So the basic concept of the film is the first thing you see is a helicopter with two guys in it chasing and shooting at a dog. It runs into an American Antarctic scientific research station, and basically, long story short, that dog is a alien life form that can imitate things, people, other life forms perfectly. And what effectively happens from that point on, I may mention it later on, but paranoia ensues, because obviously one of the questions that isn't answered in the film, and even the questions themselves on the set apparently, was, if you are the Thing, if you had been copied, did you know? was there something inside you that made you do things, to take over? And, these questions were asked on set, and different people had different interpretations. And I'll do. There's a famous scene where Thomas Waite's character Windows runs down the hall, breaks, and this is at the point where the paranoia is completely happening. Everyone's screaming at each other, and the camp leader Gary basically gives up his. He basically says, "I think someone else should be in charge," and he goes to Norris, played by Charlie Hallahan, pulling it out the air here, and he goes, "Oh, I don't think I'm up to it." Now, he's always said, and even after interviews afterwards, he thinks the Thing didn't want to be in charge, because he needed so that's why he thinks his character said that line. So stuff happens, but we'll get to the screening. Now, people always kind of say this thing about, there's a very distinct difference between watching a film on a DVD or a home, or watching it at the cinema. Now, I have seen The Thing something in excess of about 100 times. And one of the things I think about the movie is I first watched it on VHS, so that wasn't like your what we call your perfect viewing experience, but back then you got to see the movie. Then obviously we went to DVD, and then we went to Blu-ray. Now, the weird thing is, every single time it's stepped up in, we'll say, quality and digital grade, there's things I've noticed in each upgrade. So I was again watching this film tonight for the first time on a large screen in a sold-out theatre, and I was still seeing things I hadn't seen before, which is kind of weird for a film you've seen that many times. But the thing that interested me about this was, we watched the film, and as you can tell by the way I'm talking, it was a fairly awesome experience. I don't know what the transfer or where they got this source of the film from, but it was a fairly decent looking thing. Obviously it wasn't like, your IMAX surround sound joke, because there is a 30. I don't think they've, especially in that screen, I don't think it was like, I think it was more stereo, and it was something that wasn't like your THXy stuff, but it still effectively worked. You after watching something like Endgame, where it's like literally to watch this kind of very slow meditative film. I don't really have a meditative, it makes it sound like a Merchant Ivory movie, because to be honest with you, it's, if you haven't seen some of the special effects sequences in this film, go pick yourself up like this Blu-ray of it or DVD. You can get it fairly cheap in most stores, or if you want the full thing, pick up the Arrow copy, because that's got a shitload of decent stuff on it, and watch the film. Because I've always said to people that it's the special effects that practical effects guys hold up in incredibly high regard. They were done by Rob Bottin, who has done many things. I think he's mostly famous for The Howling, and actually some people, he also did a lot of the makeup and bruising and everything on Fight Club, as an example. And he did an incredible job with this stuff. You see some of the things that obviously I think the guy who played Clark said he would go through the studio and see these things before they dumped all the stuff on them to make them look good or whatever, and he said they were very beautiful but disturbing pieces of sculpture, because some of it is fairly incredible. I mean, he wanted to make it so good, he spent a year and a couple of days, I think, literally living on the Universal lot, trying to get this stuff to be brilliant. And and I think my favourite quote from, there's a documentary on it's on both Blu-rays, where one of the optical effects guys says he never knew before that film you could buy KY jelly in 5-gallon cans, because they had so many of them, and he just never knew you could, why, outside of special effects, why would you need a 5-gallon can of KY jelly? Thoughts. But so yeah, I always say to people, it's an astonishingly in some ways it's like an ensemble film, but it's also astonishingly visceral at points. I mean, there's one sequence everyone always talks about, which comes about 2/3 of the way through the film. And again, haven't seen it. Go away, watch it, come back. And sorry to get to spoiler territory, but one of the characters is receiving CPR, so they shock the chest. They do it once, and then the doctor does it again, and the hands go through the chest to reveal teeth, and basically the doctor gets his arm bitten off. And I'm not going to say any more from that point on, but it gets better and weirder from there. And it is a sequence that is very, very well known amongst the aficionados of John Carpenter's work on the film The Thing. And you just watch that section, and you're just like, because when John Carpenter said he watched it, he actually said himself the one thing he didn't want was a guy in a suit. Because as he said, as awesome as Alien the film was, what stood up at the end? It was a guy in a suit. So that's not what the thing was. I think there are some guys in suits in there, but they're doing other stuff. But so we'll skip to the end of the showing. So I expected the average age range of the people to be in there to be basically me, kind of 40s to 50s, who've seen the film on Blu-ray and weren't old enough to go to the cinema to watch it. But no, I was actually wrong. It was like quite a wide range of people. So when the film ended and we all kind of poured out, some people kind of congregated outside, and we actually had a discussion about it. And that was weirdly enough where I found out that 5 of the people in that group hadn't seen the film before, had heard a lot about it, but had never seen it, never bought it on Blu-ray, thought, it's on the cinema, let's just go and see what it's like. And to see their reactions to it, from going in blind to, they were honestly just praising the film, which I really enjoyed. Because they were saying things like, the music was brilliant, the special effects still hold up, and it's an over 30-year film, and there's no CG in it, there's nothing like that. This was years before when they did the prequel I have opinions about, but I don't think I hate it as much as some other people do. But the CG was fairly, you can't really say much else. But it was an astonishing experience to see this movie in that environment, which is why I've kind of done this. It also means that I've been on an hour and about doing a top 10 John Carpenter film video for a little while, so I'm going to do that now. I think after seeing this, I think it's given me kind of the impetus to do it. But I'm definitely going to, if there's more of these locally, I'm definitely going to go. I think the next one they're doing is Aliens, which is going to be interesting in the cinema, because again, it's a film I've seen loads, but I think that's going to be an experience, because it depends which version it is. Because the thing is, it says it's 3 hours, and the time frame given is like 8:30 till 11:30, which would make me think that's the full extended version, which is about that long, because the original cut of Aliens is about 2.5 hours, I think, memory serves. But I'll give that a go. So I'm going to put links to the Liverpool Classic Group and the R-Screen app in the description below if you're interested in having a look. I think the next films they're doing after Aliens is Clueless, Back to the Future, Spice World, which you're not really thinking, okay. I was like, that could be, you have to get drunk, I think, but thank you very much for watching anyway. I'll just let you know some updates. Where Wales, obviously, we're going to Telford. Before that, it's going to be LSCC. I'm also going to be at SunnyCon Liverpool. That is getting a vlogging, because it's the first time SunnyCon's ever been to Liverpool. I think they're kind of dipping their toe in the water, and that's a mostly anime thing, so I'm going to be like a hog in heaven in there. And I will do a review and overview of the full weekend. I think I may combine a blog and an overview together for that one. And I will be cosplaying at that. don't know what as yet, but I'm going to see if I can pull something out of my ass last minute. I don't think I could go as McCready, grow a beard, grow my hair, if I had any hair left. But yeah, so Papers, Please, I've worked out how to schedule it, so sometime next week they should start to appear, because I'm going to try and do an episode of that every 3 or 4 days. Then going to possibly be playing Shakedown Hawaii, because that looks like my shit kind of 16-bit Grand Theft Auto style thing. And obviously I am still going to be streaming Destiny 2 on the 4th of June. The new season begins, and I always do a day one stream of the new season, so keep an eye out for that. There will be some other stuff coming. I am thinking of broadening myself a bit out, because obviously trying to find time to do streams is fairly difficult now, but I'm still going to keep trying to do it. But I am possibly going to lean a little harder into the convention stuff and reviewing and talking about films, and maybe trying to work out a rating system for guests. Because, I mean, I thought everyone's lovely, but I think I'm getting to the point now where I can say that guest was like this. So I'm going to have a little think about that and come up with a rating system of some type for them. You never know. But thanks very much for watching today. As always, like, comment, subscribe, yada 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 yada. So see you next time, and have an absolutely wonderful day. Bye bye.